is that they are unique. And these women have become among the most important people in my life. So just want to thank you for that. For so many of us now, I think life and work are intertwined. And it's not that we don't have time off, though we don't, but we are always looking and listening, reading and talking, thinking of new ways to tell our history, new ways to tell stories. We share notes about the news and current events, art, books, film, music, family, life. We talk and work all the time. That's part of the power of Ken's art, his way of storytelling. He's able to knit together these personal and political moments, the intimate and the vast. There are a few guiding principles to the work that we do, basic tenets of how we make these films. History is a conversation. Never be too sure you are right. Listen to one another. Years ago, Ken had a sign made for our editing room in neon cursive that says, "It's complicated." Facts matter, and the interpretation of those facts matter too. An image can tell 100 stories. Live in a photograph. Take your time and don't rush. We obsess over every word, every comma, every sound effect, every music cue, every frame of film. Ken loves to pace a story, not just the narration and the images and the music and the things you're familiar with, but the speed and timing of every single cut. There are 24 frames in a second of film. Ken can tell when the pacing is off by 2 frames or 4 frames. He calls it a scotch, or 6 frames, a tad, and it will actually really surprise you how much that fraction of a second matters to telling a story. He's a master at it. What might also surprise you is that whether we are working on a big series on the history of the Vietnam War, or jazz music, baseball, the 10th inning, a biography of Leonardo da Vinci, Muhammad Ali, Ernest Hemingway, a film about the Brooklyn Bridge or the American buffalo, the process stays remarkably the same, and Ken will talk a lot more about that tonight. Our band sticks together and has for nearly 5 decades. Buddy Squires, Trisha Reedy, Jeff Ward, Paul Barnes, Lynn Novick, Sarah Burns, David McMahon, Dayton Duncan, partners outside the company at public television, Paula Kerger, Jonathan Barzilay, Sylvia Bugg, and DKC, Joe DePlasco, so many of whom are here tonight. And in addition, the musicians, the actors, the colorists, the sound effects people, the mixers, the list goes on and on. He has created a family of people that come together to work for him every day. We believe deeply in public media and public television. We would not make our films anywhere else. And all of us are lucky. I am lucky. The country is lucky. This American story is filled with so much promise and possibility, but also failure and betrayal. But it's our story. And how fortunate are we as a nation to have a master like Ken committed to telling our hard truths and our great triumphs. What Ken has created, I think, is truly unique and deserves to be celebrated. His work helps us understand what it means to be an American, how we got here, and how we, all of us, might do better to protect what is most important in our legacy.
Ken Burns, for nearly half a century, you have pioneered the art of historical storytelling through documentary filmmaking. Your life and your work exemplify the daily quest to pursue happiness through virtuous self-mastery and lifelong learning. As America's storyteller and history teacher, you have inspired Americans to learn about our past in order to avoid its errors and preserve its best ideals. Your exploration of the American Revolution illuminates the struggles, setbacks, and triumphs of the revolutionary generation in their battle to secure the ideals of liberty, equality, and democracy at the heart of the American idea. For inspiring Americans to learn more about history so they can become more perfect and keep the Republic, it is the greatest honor for the National Constitution Center to award you the 2024 Liberty Medal.
Good evening, and thank you, Jeff, for this honor. Thank you to the NCC as well. I am humbled by the list of previous recipients. My heroes, John McCain, John Lewis, Malala, Muhammad Ali, Mandela, Steven Spielberg. I hope my addition brings something to the extraordinary work of this great institution. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, too, to my best friend, Sarah Botstein, for her extraordinary words and sort of secret betrayal of our process. We want to share it with the world, and I've never seen anyone do it as well as you have. Thank you so much. I love you. Thank you to half of my girls who are here, Sarah and Lily, the most important co-productions that I will ever be involved in. They are, as Sarah said, magnificent women, and thank you for recognizing them. Ladies and gentlemen, I am in the business of history, the often complicated task of trying to decipher the evidence of the past into a coherent narrative that sheds some light on not only where we've been, but where we are now and where we may be going. That is to say, our mysterious and unknown future. That future, particularly today, is not always predictably and comfortably assured. In these fraught moments, it is often the past that provides us with the tools and the inspiration to reinvigorate our sense of ourselves as a machine, as was said of our Constitution and the remarkable republic born from it, a machine that would go of itself. In the course of any historical investigation, one is bombarded with myriad words, ideas, and voices. Those voices, for me, provide the foundation of any good history and helps us separate the wheat from the chaff. What was meaningful then can often be filled with even more import today. Listen, a voice. From a small spark kindled in America, a flame has arisen not to be extinguished. Without consuming, it winds its progress from nation to nation and conquers by a silent operation. Man finds himself changed and discovers that the strength and power of despotism consists wholly in the fear of resisting it, and that in order to be free, it is sufficient that he wills it. As Sarah said, for much of the last 8 years, I have been working with my talented colleagues on a series about the history of the American Revolution. That quote opens the introduction of our first of 6 episodes, totaling 12 hours. It was written by one of the most important political writers of the 18th century, and in the land of Franklin and Jefferson, Madison and Adams and Hamilton, that's saying a lot. His name was Thomas Paine, and his spectacularly vivid prose electrified the revolutionary movement. He provided the momentum that leads to the Declaration of Independence. He inspirited the patriot cause during its darkest days, and he helped provide the confidence that leads to the miraculous operating manual that gives the National Constitution Center its mission and this moment so much meaning. In January of 1776, 37-year-old Thomas Paine was a recent newcomer to America. The son of a Quaker corset maker and his Anglican wife, Paine had failed at his father's profession, lost his first wife and their child in childbirth, been fired from his post as tax collector, endured the collapse of a second childless marriage, and had seen all of his possessions auctioned off to pay his debts. During his 9-week voyage from Britain, he'd contracted typhus, and when his ship reached Philadelphia, he had to be carried off, half dead. But in January of 1776, he'd published, right here in Philadelphia, just a few blocks from here, a pamphlet called Common Sense, the most important pamphlet in American history. It was signed simply an Englishman. Paine was a master with words, skillfully weaving the latest Enlightenment philosophy with biblical references that everyone knew. Most important, he was a violent foe of authoritarianism and monarchy. Paine understood that it was possible, as he said, to begin the world anew, to start over again, and we did. We did. He also said there is something very absurd in supposing a continent to be perpetually governed by an island. I have had the privilege for nearly half a century of making films about the U.S., but I have also made films about us. That is to say, the two-letter lowercase plural pronoun, all of the intimacy of us and also we and our, and all of the majesty, complexity, contradiction, and even controversy of the U.S. And if I have learned anything over those years, it's that there's only us. There is no them. And whenever someone suggests to you, whomever it may be in your life, that there's a them, run away. That's my fundamental understanding. That's my fundamental understanding, my best idea. Run away. The National Constitution Center is a place, but more importantly, an idea too, the essential idea that we can improve our democracy by studying our past, our founding, the women and men of all backgrounds who gave birth to this complicated and glorious republic. As we say in the introduction of our new series, the American Revolution was not just a clash between Englishmen over Indian land, taxes, and representation, but a bloody struggle that would engage more than 24 nations, European as well as Native American, that also somehow came to be about the noblest aspirations of humankind. The American Revolution was the first war ever fought, proclaiming the unalienable rights of all the people, and it would change the course of human events. It was the opening signal for more than 2 centuries of revolution, first in Europe, then in the Caribbean, South America, Asia, and Africa. As a nation, we've often forgotten that this history was made by everyone. The stories of those forgotten entirely and those whose stories have been historically ignored or undervalued are critical to our larger American story. You cannot understand the U.S. without understanding us, all of us. The National Constitution Center reminds us daily through exhibitions, education, engagement, and outreach, through the work of scholars and teachers, that our founding documents are not materials to be left in some distant, dusty past, but central to our ongoing story now, the story of us. It's because these documents and ideas are a manifestation of what it means to be human. I could not be more humbled for the extraordinary recognition that you bestow on me tonight. The Liberty Medal recognizes that the desire for liberty, for freedom, is a universal human trait that requires